Good evening, and welcome to a lecture dedicated to ancient Greek philosophy. Tonight we embark on a journey into the past, to an era when Mediterranean thinkers laid the foundations of Western philosophical thought. Picture yourself in ancient Athens, strolling through the agora, the heart of the city's public life, where people gather to discuss politics, philosophy, and the essence of existence. Close your eyes and imagine bustling streets filled with merchants, artisans, and scholars. Feel the warmth of sunlight on your skin and a gentle breeze carrying the scents of olive oil and fresh bread. You are about to encounter the greatest minds of antiquity whose ideas continue to shape our understanding of the world. Our story begins with Thales of Miletus, who lived around 624th year before our era. Envision Thales walking along the rocky shores of the Aegean Sea, where waves crash against stones. He observes how water sustains life, how it shifts from liquid to vapor or ice, how it is ever present. For Thales, water becomes the foundation of all that exists, the key element of the cosmos. Picture him sitting by the sea, lost in thought, before proclaiming his groundbreaking idea. Everything in the world is made of water. This step marked a shift from myths to rational explanations, laying the groundwork for future scientific inquiry. Next, we meet Anaximander, a student of Thales who lived around 610th year before our era. Imagine a group of curious students gathered around a man sketching on a wax tablet in the shade of an olive tree. This is Anaximander, one of the most original thinkers of his time. He was captivated by the natural world and its mysteries. Unlike Thales, who saw water as the basis of the universe, Anaximander proposed a bolder, more abstract concept. He introduced the idea of the apeiron, an infinite, boundless source underlying all existence. Anaximander ponders the limits of known elements, water, air, earth, and fire. He argues that each has a beginning and an end, finite and subject to change. But the apeiron, he claims, is different. It is an eternal, indestructible source, an infinite origin from which everything in the universe arises and to which it returns. The apeiron cannot be seen or touched. It is an idea beyond the physical world and human experience. Anaximander's concept of the apeiron challenges traditional views of the cosmos. He explains that the apeiron generates opposites, hot and cold, wet and dry, which in turn create the diverse phenomena we observe. Picture him using a simple demonstration, like mixing hot and cold water, to show how the apeiron produces these fundamental opposites and their interactions. The apeiron is also the source of motion and change. Anaximander theorizes that it is in constant flux, continuously generating new worlds while old ones dissolve back into it. Imagine him pointing to the stars in the night sky, explaining that even celestial bodies are part of this eternal cycle of birth, growth, decay, and rebirth. This idea of a constantly changing universe was revolutionary, rejecting notions of a static, unchanging cosmos. Anaximander's concept of the apeiron also introduces a moral dimension to the universe. He suggests a cosmic justice where elements pay for their injustices to one another. For instance, when fire consumes wood, it must eventually yield to water that extinguishes it. This balance of forces maintains cosmic harmony, with the apeiron serving as the ultimate arbiter of this justice. His ideas are not mere abstractions, but deeply tied to the world around him, inspiring his listeners to see the universe anew. Through Anaximander's teachings, we glimpse a world that is infinite, dynamic, and interconnected. His concept of the apeiron sets the stage for future philosophical inquiries, influencing thinkers who would continue exploring the nature of existence and the cosmos's fundamental principles. As we leave Anaximander's courtyard, we carry a sense of wonder and a deeper appreciation for the universe's boundless mysteries. Continuing our journey through ancient Greece, we encounter Anaximenes of Miletus, a student of Anaximander, who lived around 580th year before our era. Picture yourself walking through the lively streets of Miletus, the bright sun shining overhead, the air filled with the scent of herbs and spices. On a quiet, grassy clearing at the city's edge, a small group of students gathers around a philosopher deep in thought, gazing at the sky. This is Anaximenes, whose profound insights into the nature of the universe would forever alter our understanding of the world. Like his predecessors, Anaximenes sought to uncover the fundamental substance of all things, while Thales saw this substance as water, and Anaximander proposed the abstract apeiron. Anaximenes looked upward and found his answer in air. Imagine him lying on soft grass, watching clouds drift across the sky, feeling a gentle breeze on his face. From this, he begins to formulate his revolutionary theory. Air, abundant and ubiquitous, is the primary element from which all else arises. Anaximenes' theory is elegant and practical. He notices that air is essential for life, breathed by humans and animals alike. He also observes that air can change forms, becoming hot or cold, wet or dry. Picture him conducting simple experiments, such as breathing on his hand to feel warmth or blowing on a fire to see its effect on the flame. These everyday observations lead him to conclude that air, through processes of condensation and rarefaction, transforms into all other elements. Visualize Anaximenes explaining his theory to his students with vivid, accessible examples. He describes how air, when condensed, becomes wind. Then, with further condensation, turns into water. As water condenses further, it becomes earth, then stone. Conversely, when air rarefies, it transforms into fire. Imagine him drawing on the ground with a stick, illustrating these transformations, captivating his audience with the simplicity and logic of his ideas. Anaximenes also believes that air is not only the substance of physical matter, but the breath of life, the soul. He asserts that just as air sustains the human body, it sustains the universe. This idea lends his philosophy a sense of interconnectedness between the microcosm of the individual and the macrocosm of the universe. Picture him standing before his students, arms outstretched to embrace the vast sky and earth below, conveying the unity of all things through the medium of air. One evening, beneath a sky studded with twinkling stars, Anaximenes discusses the nature of celestial bodies. He suggests that stars, the sun, and the moon are made of rarefied air that is ignited, providing light and warmth to the earth. He explains that the heavens are not separate from the earth, but part of a continuous process of transformation driven by air. This idea challenges traditional views of the cosmos as a fixed, unchanging realm, presenting it instead as a dynamic, living system. Anaximenes' teachings inspire his students to see the world through new eyes. His concept of air as the fundamental substance brings unity and simplicity to nature's complexities. It encourages them to observe their surroundings, to feel the air they breathe, and to recognize the profound connection between all forms of matter. As we leave Anaximenes' gathering, we carry a newfound appreciation for the air we often take for granted. Through his eyes, we see air not as an invisible, intangible substance, but as a vital force shaping and sustaining the universe. Anaximenes' legacy endures in our understanding of the natural world, reminding us of the profound truths that can be uncovered through careful observation and deep reflection. Our journey through ancient Greek philosophy now takes us to the island of Samos, around 570th year before our era, where we meet Pythagoras, a figure shrouded in mystery and legend. Imagine arriving at a serene coastal village where the sound of waves gently laps against the shore. The village buzzes with rumors of a wise man who traveled to Egypt and Babylon, gathering knowledge, and now teaches a unique blend of philosophy, mathematics, and mysticism. This man is Pythagoras, whose ideas would resonate through the centuries. Pythagoras is not merely a philosopher, but the leader of a tight-knit community known as the Pythagoreans. Picture a group of devoted followers dressed in simple robes, gathered in a modest yet tranquil sanctuary, the air filled with the scent of burning incense and the soft hum of contemplative chants. The Pythagoreans believe in a way of life that emphasizes purity, self-discipline, and the pursuit of knowledge. They live by strict rules, including a vegetarian diet, communal living, and deep reverence for the harmony of the universe. At the heart of Pythagoras' philosophy lies the belief that numbers are the fundamental essence of all things. Imagine him standing before a blackboard, chalk in hand, demonstrating how numbers and their relationships underpin the structure of the cosmos. He introduces his students to the concept of numerical ratios, which explain the harmonious proportions found in nature, music, and the heavens. Picture the awe on his followers' faces as he shows how intervals in a musical scale correspond to simple numerical ratios, revealing the hidden order and beauty of the world. Pythagoras and his followers also delve into the mystical properties of numbers. They see numbers as symbols with profound spiritual significance. For instance, the number 1 represents unity and the origin of all things, while 2 symbolizes duality and balance. The number 3 is considered perfect, embodying harmony and the synthesis of opposites. Imagine a Pythagorean ritual where followers gather around a triangular altar, meditating on the significance of 3 and its embodiment in the triangular form. One of Pythagoras' most famous contributions is the Pythagorean theorem, which states that in a right-angled triangle, the square of the hypotenuse equals the sum of the squares of the other 2 sides. Picture him demonstrating this theorem to his students, using a sand table to draw precise geometric shapes, showing how this mathematical principle applies not only to triangles, but to the very fabric of the universe. Beyond mathematics, Pythagoras and his followers are deeply interested in the nature of the soul and its journey through cycles of reincarnation. They believe the soul is immortal, passing through a series of rebirths in pursuit of purification and ultimate union with the divine. Imagine Pythagoras sitting with his followers around a crackling fire, sharing stories of past lives and the lessons learned in each incarnation. This belief in the transmigration of souls leads the Pythagoreans to live virtuously, striving to break free from the cycle of rebirth and achieve spiritual enlightenment. The Pythagorean community is also known for its secrecy and esoteric teachings. They form an exclusive society with initiation rites and strict codes of conduct. Picture the excitement and reverence of a novice preparing for initiation, studying sacred symbols and chants, and being welcomed into the inner circle where deeper mysteries are revealed. Through Pythagoras' teachings, his followers begin to see the universe as a harmonious, interconnected whole, governed by the principles of mathematics and the divine order of numbers. They are inspired to seek knowledge, live ethically, and pursue spiritual purity, believing that through understanding the cosmos, they can attain a higher state of being. As we leave the Pythagorean sanctuary, we carry a sense of wonder and awe at the intricate harmony of the universe. Pythagoras' legacy endures, reminding us that the pursuit of knowledge and the quest for spiritual enlightenment are intertwined, guiding us toward a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Our exploration of ancient Greek philosophy now transports us to the bustling city of Ephesus, around 500th year before our era, where we encounter Heraclitus, a thinker whose ideas are as enigmatic as they are profound. Imagine wandering through Ephesus' lively markets, the air thick with the scent of spices and the chatter of merchants. Amid the city's grandeur, in a quiet corner of a temple shaded by cypress trees, sits a solitary figure lost in contemplation. This is Heraclitus, known to his contemporaries as the weeping philosopher, due to his melancholic nature and belief in life's impermanence. Heraclitus is a philosopher who sees the world through the lens of constant change and flux. Picture him walking along the banks of the river Cayster, observing how water flows endlessly past, never the same from moment to moment. Here he formulates his famous doctrine of change, encapsulated in the phrase pantarei, meaning everything flows. He muses aloud to his followers, one cannot step into the same river twice, for fresh waters are ever flowing in. Heraclitus believes that change is the fundamental essence of the universe. He sees reality not as a collection of static objects, but as a dynamic process where everything is in constant motion. Imagine him sitting with his students in a shaded grove, using a flickering campfire as a metaphor for his philosophy. He explains that just as fire consumes and transforms wood, the universe is continually renewed through cycles of birth, growth, decay, and rebirth. At the core of Heraclitus' thought lies the concept of the logos, a fundamental principle of order and reason that governs constant change. Picture him pointing to the stars in the night sky, explaining how the logos ensures that, despite apparent chaos, a rational structure underpins the cosmos. The logos is like an invisible thread weaving the fabric of reality, maintaining balance and harmony in the flux. Heraclitus' philosophy also extends to human experience. He teaches that conflict and contradiction are integral to life, driving change and growth. Imagine him illustrating this idea with the image of a bow and lyre, explaining how tension between opposites, such as the bow's string and its wooden frame, or the lyre's strings and its body, creates harmony and balance. He argues that without conflict, there can be no progress, and without struggle, no growth. Heraclitus is also known for his belief in the unity of opposites. He teaches that seemingly contradictory forces are interconnected and interdependent. Picture him discussing the interplay of day and night, life and death, pleasure and pain, and how these opposites define and give meaning to one another. He emphasizes that understanding this unity is key to grasping the true nature of reality. His followers gathered around him are captivated by his insights. They learn to see the world through Heraclitus' eyes, appreciating the beauty of change and the interconnectedness of all things. Imagine a student reflecting on Heraclitus' teachings, watching a butterfly emerge from its cocoon, marveling at the transformation and the endless possibilities of change. Heraclitus' doctrine of change challenges his students to embrace life's impermanence and find wisdom in the ever-shifting nature of existence. He urges them to seek knowledge and understanding, not through rigid dogmas or static beliefs, but through a deep awareness of the fluid, transient reality around them. His philosophy is a call to awaken to the present moment and recognize the logos at the heart of life's constant flow. As we leave Heraclitus and his followers by the river, we carry a profound appreciation for the dynamic, ever-changing world we inhabit. Heraclitus' legacy reminds us that change is not to be feared but embraced, and that within the flux of existence lies the true essence of life. In contrast to Heraclitus, we now meet Parmenides of Elea, whose ideas stand in opposition to the notion of constant change. Our philosophical journey takes us to the city of Elea in southern Italy, around 500th year before our era. Here we encounter Parmenides, a philosopher whose ideas sharply diverge from those of Heraclitus. Picture yourself in a quiet coastal town with olive groves and vineyards stretching to the horizon. In the heart of Elea, in a serene courtyard surrounded by columns and blooming plants, a group of students gathers around a wise and dignified man. This is Parmenides, and he is about to challenge everything we think we know about reality. Parmenides believes that change is an illusion and that true reality is unchanging and eternal. Imagine him standing in the courtyard, his gaze steady and his voice calm, as he begins to explain his revolutionary ideas. He argues that the senses, which tell us the world is in constant flux, are deceptive. Instead, Parmenides claims that reason reveals a deeper, unchanging truth. Parmenides introduces his students to the concept of being. He explains that true being is continuous, indivisible, and eternal. Picture him drawing a circle in the sand, illustrating the idea of wholeness and unity. He emphasizes that being is complete and unbroken, like a circle, and cannot be divided or altered. This unchanging reality, he asserts, is the only true existence. To further clarify his point, Parmenides offers a logical argument. He asks his students to consider the nature of nothing or non-being. Imagine the students, deep in thought, as Parmenides poses a simple yet profound question. Can something arise from nothing? He argues that it cannot, for nothing can produce nothing. Therefore, if change involves a transition from non-being to being, or vice versa, it must be impossible. Being is and cannot not be. Non-being is not and cannot be. Parmenides' logic leads him to conclude that the world of appearances, where change and multiplicity occur, is an illusion. Picture him walking with his students through Elea's bustling marketplace, pointing to the varied sights, sounds, and activities. He explains that what they perceive with their senses, moving people, exchange goods, the passage of time, is merely a facade. The true essence of reality, he insists, is a singular, unchanging, eternal being. One of Parmenides' most famous works is a poem in which he describes a mystical journey to the realm of truth. Imagine him reciting verses to his captivated students, recounting how a goddess guided him, revealing the difference between the way of truth and the way of opinion, or doxa. The goddess teaches that the way of truth is the path of reason, leading to the realization of eternal, unchanging being, while the way of opinion is the path of the senses, deceiving us with illusions of change and multiplicity. Parmenides' teachings profoundly influence his students and later philosophers. They learn to question the reliability of sensory experience and to seek knowledge through rational inquiry. Picture a student inspired by Parmenides' ideas, sitting by the sea, contemplating the nature of reality, striving to peer beyond appearances to grasp eternal truth. Parmenides' philosophy also lays the groundwork for future metaphysical debates. His claim that being is unchanging and indivisible challenges philosophers to reconcile the apparent contradictions between sensory experience and rational thought. Imagine later thinkers like Zeno of Elea crafting paradoxes to defend Parmenides' ideas, pushing the boundaries of philosophical inquiry. As we leave Parmenides and his followers in Elea's peaceful courtyard, we carry a profound sense of wonder and curiosity. Parmenides' legacy endures, reminding us that beneath the surface of a constantly changing world lies a deeper, eternal reality, accessible through the power of reason. Our journey through ancient Greek philosophy now transports us to the picturesque island of Sicily in 450th year before our era, where we meet Empedocles of Acragas. Imagine standing on a cliff overlooking the azure waters of the Mediterranean, the scent of wild herbs and flowers carried by a warm breeze. Here, amid Sicily's natural beauty, the philosopher, poet, and mystic Empedocles develops his theory of the four elements. Empedocles, a charismatic and multifaceted figure, believes that all matter in the universe is composed of four fundamental elements: earth, water, air, and fire. Picture him in flowing robes, addressing a gathered audience in an open-air amphitheater. With conviction and passion, he shares his vision of the elements. He explains that these elements are the basic building blocks of all that exists. Imagine him lifting a handful of earth, letting it slip through his fingers, then pointing to the sea's waves, the clear blue sky, and the blazing sun. Each element, he tells his audience, has unique properties and characteristics. Earth is solid and stable, water is fluid and vital, air is light and essential, fire is transformative and energetic. Empedocles' theory goes beyond merely identifying these elements. He introduces the concept of two opposing forces, love, or philia, and strife, or nekos, that act upon them. Picture him drawing a circle on the ground, dividing it into four quadrants, each representing an element. He then uses his hands to demonstrate how love, the force of attraction and unity, binds the elements to form complex structures, while strife, the force of separation and discord, tears them apart. In Empedocles' world, these forces are in constant flux, creating a dynamic, ever-changing universe. Imagine him using the imagery of a cosmic dance, where the elements are partners moving in harmony or conflict, guided by the rhythms of love and strife. He captivates his listeners with vivid descriptions of how mountains form, rivers flow, plants grow, and animals thrive, all through the interplay of these elemental forces. Empedocles' philosophy also extends to human experience. He teaches that the body and soul are composed of the four elements, and that health and well-being depend on their balance. Picture him instructing his followers on achieving harmony within themselves through diet, exercise, and meditation to align with nature. He emphasizes that understanding the elements and their interactions can lead to a deeper connection with the universe and a more fulfilling life. Empedocles' ideas are not confined to theoretical musings. He is also known for his mystical and religious practices. Imagine him conducting rituals in a sacred grove, invoking the elements and the divine forces that govern them. He claims to possess magical abilities, such as healing the sick and influencing the weather, attributing these powers to his profound knowledge of the elements. One of Empedocles' most famous works is his poem on nature, where he outlines his cosmology and the principles of the four elements. Picture him reciting verses to an enthralled audience, describing the eternal cycle of birth, death, and rebirth driven by the interplay of love and strife. His poetic language and vivid metaphors bring his concepts to life, leaving his listeners in awe and wonder. As we leave Empedocles and his followers on Sicily's sunlit shores, we carry a deeper understanding of the elemental forces shaping our world. Empedocles' legacy reminds us that beneath the surface of our daily experiences lies a profound and intricate web of connections, governed by the eternal dance of the four elements. The story of Empedocles' death is as captivating as his life. According to a popular legend, Empedocles, convinced of his divine status, sought to prove his immortality by leaping into the active volcano Etna. Picture the dramatic scene. Empedocles, in flowing robes, stands at the edge of the fiery crater, proclaiming his divine powers before plunging into the molten lava. This act was meant to affirm his transcendence, but instead it sealed his fate in a fiery whirl of legend. The tale holds that all that was found afterward were his bronze sandals, cast out by the volcano. This story underscores Empedocles' dramatic and grandiose persona, a man whose life and death were steeped in the mysticism he wove through his powerful rhetoric and bold ideas. Through his life and teachings, Empedocles left a legacy as one of ancient Greece's greatest orators and thinkers, his enigmatic death only adding to the legend of a man who sought to understand and unite with the deepest truths of the universe. Our journey through the rich tapestry of ancient Greek philosophy brings us to the Ionian coast, where we meet Anaxagoras of Clazomenai, a philosopher who introduced a revolutionary concept that forever changed our view of the universe, the nous, or cosmic mind. Imagine the bustling city of Athens around 450th year before our era, where Anaxagoras arrives from his native Asia Minor. Athens is a city teeming with intellectual fervor, where philosophers, poets, and statesmen gather to debate the nature of reality and the mysteries of existence. Anaxagoras quickly becomes a prominent figure in these circles, known for his profound insights and innovative ideas. Anaxagoras proposes that everything in the universe is composed of infinitely small particles, which he calls seeds or homoeomeres. Picture him in a lively discussion at the Agora, explaining how these seeds combine in countless ways to form the diverse objects and beings we see around us. What sets Anaxagoras apart, however, is his introduction of the nous, the mind, a principle that governs and organizes these seeds. The nous is not a physical entity, but an intellectual and ordering force, a cosmic mind that sets everything in motion and ensures the orderly arrangement of the cosmos. Imagine Anaxagoras using the analogy of a potter shaping clay to illustrate how the nous organizes the chaotic mass of seeds into the structured, harmonious world we experience. This idea was groundbreaking, suggesting that the universe is not a product of chance, but the result of intelligent design. Anaxagoras' nous is pure, eternal, and infinite, the subtlest and most powerful of all things, possessing complete knowledge and control over the cosmos. Picture him describing the nous as a divine intelligence, shaping the universe like a master craftsman, meticulously planning and executing a masterpiece. This concept of a cosmic mind introduces a level of intentionality and purpose to the universe's workings that had not been considered before. According to Anaxagoras, the nous initiates a cosmic rotation, a vast vortex that separates and organizes the seeds into the familiar elements of earth, water, air, and fire. Imagine him pointing to the heavens, explaining how the nous set the stars, sun, and moon in their orbits, and how it governs the cycles of nature, from the changing seasons to the growth of living beings. His ideas also touch on the nature of human intelligence. Anaxagoras believes that the human mind or soul is a fragment of this cosmic nous, enabling us to understand and explore the world around us. Picture him engaging in a spirited debate with other philosophers, asserting that our capacity for thought and perception reflects the universal mind's workings within us. Anaxagoras' theories are not without controversy. His claim that the sun is a fiery rock, not a deity, and that the moon is made of earth, challenges traditional religious beliefs. Imagine the reaction of the Athenians. Some are intrigued by his rational explanations, while others deem his ideas impious. Despite criticism, Anaxagoras' influence is profound, particularly on his friend and student, the great statesman Pericles who supports and defends him. Anaxagoras' legacy and his concept of the nous continue to influence later philosophers such as Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. His idea of an intelligent ordering principle introduces a new dimension to Greek philosophy, bridging physical phenomena and metaphysical inquiry. As we leave Anaxagoras in vibrant Athens, we carry a deeper understanding of how ancient thinkers sought to unravel the mysteries of existence, striving to uncover the intelligent design behind the cosmos. Continuing our journey through the rich landscape of ancient Greek philosophy, we arrive in the vibrant and bustling city of Abdera, home to one of antiquity's most influential thinkers, Democritus. Born around 460th year before our era, Democritus is best known for developing the atomic theory, a groundbreaking idea that continues to resonate in modern science. Picture yourself walking through Abdera's streets and encountering a man with sparkling eyes and an insatiable curiosity about the world. This is Democritus, often called the laughing philosopher due to his cheerful disposition and love of life. He believed that understanding the universe could bring not only knowledge, but also joy and fulfillment. Building on the work of his predecessor, Leucippus, Democritus formulated a theory that everything in the universe is composed of tiny, indivisible particles called atoms. Imagine him in a lively discussion with other philosophers, using simple analogies to explain his ideas. He might compare atoms to minute, invisible building blocks that make up everything around us, from the stars in the sky to the air we breathe, and even our own bodies. According to Democritus, these atoms are eternal, unchangeable, and infinite in number. They move through the void and infinite space, combining and rearranging in various ways to form all the diverse objects and substances we perceive. Picture him explaining this process with the analogy of a kaleidoscope, where a few basic shapes create endless patterns depending on their arrangement. One of the most striking features of Democritus' atomism is its mechanistic nature. He suggested that all phenomena, including sensory experiences and human emotions, can be explained by the interactions of atoms. Imagine him explaining to his peers that the sensation of sweetness is caused by smooth, rounded atoms, while bitterness arises from sharp, jagged ones. This was a revolutionary departure from the more mystical explanations of his time. Democritus also explored the nature of the soul, which he believed consists of particularly fine, smooth atoms. These soul atoms are responsible for thought, sensation, and life itself. When a person dies, he argued, these atoms disperse and rejoin the universal pool of atoms. This view reinforced his belief in the importance of living a virtuous and joyful life, as fear of death or an afterlife was unfounded. His ideas extended beyond physics and metaphysics. Democritus was also deeply interested in ethics. He taught that the highest goal of human life is achieving happiness, which he saw as a state of contentment and tranquility. This happiness, or eudaimonia, can be attained through moderation, wisdom, and understanding the true nature of the world. Picture him addressing a group of eager students, emphasizing that knowledge and a virtuous life lead to a fulfilling and joyful existence. Despite the revolutionary nature of his theories, Democritus' work was not widely embraced during his lifetime. Prevailing philosophical and religious views were deeply entrenched, and many considered his ideas too radical. However, the seeds of his thought would take root much later, profoundly influencing the development of modern science and philosophy. Reflecting on Democritus' life and legacy, we see a thinker whose vision extended far beyond his time. His atomic theory laid the groundwork for our modern understanding of the physical world, demonstrating the power of rational inquiry and the pursuit of knowledge. As we conclude our exploration of the pre-Socratics, we reflect on the incredible diversity and richness of thought that characterized this early period of Western philosophy. From Thales' quest for the universe's fundamental substance to Democritus' vision of an atomic cosmos, these thinkers grappled with profound questions about the nature of reality, knowledge, and existence. Their inquiries laid the foundation for future philosophical developments, influencing figures like Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Moreover, their ideas continue to resonate today, inspiring modern scientific and philosophical discourse. The pre-Socratics were not merely philosophers, but pioneers, boldly venturing into the unknown and expanding the horizons of human understanding. Picture yourself walking through the lively streets of ancient Athens. The air is filled with the cries of merchants, the laughter of playing children, and the hum of conversation. The agora, the heart of Athenian public life, buzzes with activity. Amid the crowd, you notice a man who stands out, not by his appearance, but by his demeanor. He is an elderly man of sturdy build, with a bald head and eyes that seem to see right through you. This is Socrates, one of the most influential philosophers of all time, engaged in what he does best, asking questions. Socrates was born around 470th year before our era, during a period of Athens' cultural and political ascendancy. His father was a stonemason, his mother a midwife. From his father, Socrates likely inherited the value of hard work and the importance of craftsmanship. From his mother, he may have learned to assist others in birthing ideas and truths, much as she aided in birthing new life. Despite his humble origins, Socrates was destined to leave an indelible mark on the world of philosophy. Imagine Socrates in the agora engaging with Athenians. Unlike the sophists, the professional teachers of the time, Socrates does not charge for his lessons. Instead, he sees himself as an intellectual midwife, helping others give birth to their own ideas. His method is simple, yet profoundly effective. He asks questions. This technique, now known as the Socratic method, involves a series of questions that lead the respondent to a clearer understanding of their beliefs and assumptions. Through this process, Socrates exposes contradictions and uncovers deeper truths. Picture a typical scene in the agora. A prominent politician is surrounded by admirers. Socrates approaches and begins asking questions. At first, the politician is confident, but as Socrates' questions grow deeper, his assurance wanes. Socrates might ask, "What is justice?" The politician offers a standard response, but Socrates probes further, requesting examples, challenging assumptions, and gradually revealing that the politician does not understand the concept as well as he thought. This method can be disconcerting, even humbling, but it is also enlightening. Socrates' questions earned him the nickname of Athens. Just as a gadfly stings a horse into action, Socrates prodded Athenians out of their complacency, urging them to think more deeply about their lives and values. He believed this critical self-examination was essential for a virtuous and fulfilling life. An unexamined life, he declares, is not worth living, emphasizing his belief that true happiness and virtue come through constant inquiry and growth. Despite his influence and popularity among many young Athenians, Socrates was not universally beloved. His questions often embarrassed and angered powerful figures in the city. They saw him as a threat to traditional values and the established order. Socrates' method of exposing ignorance was not just an intellectual exercise. It was a direct challenge to the authority and prestige of Athens' leaders. The tension between Socrates and Athens' elite culminated in 399th year before our era, when he was brought to trial on charges of impiety and corrupting the youth. Picture the scene in the Athenian courtroom. Socrates stands before a jury of 501 citizens. His accusers, representing the conservative elements of Athenian society, argue that he is a dangerous influence, questioning the gods and leading the youth astray with his radical ideas. At the trial, Socrates remains steadfast and unrepentant. He uses the occasion not to plead for mercy, but to further expound his philosophy. Imagine him addressing the jury, calmly and rationally defending his actions. He explains that his philosophical inquiries are a service to the city, a divine mission to foster moral and intellectual improvement. He insists that he does not corrupt the youth, but inspires them to think critically and seek truth. Socrates' defense is eloquent, but fails to sway the majority of the jury. He is found guilty and sentenced to death by drinking a cup of hemlock poison. In his final moments, Socrates remains true to his principles. Picture the scene in his cell, where his friends and students gather, urging him to escape. Socrates refuses, arguing that fleeing would betray his principles and undermine the laws of Athens, which he has always respected. As Socrates drinks the poison, he continues conversing with his friends, discussing the immortality of the soul and the nature of death. His demeanor remains composed even as the poison takes effect. Imagine the room filled with solemn yet reverent silence as Socrates, the gadfly of Athens, takes his final breath. His death is a profound testament to his commitment to his beliefs and his unrelenting pursuit of truth. Socrates' legacy lives on, not through written works, but through the enduring influence of his ideas and the profound impact he had on his students and subsequent generations. Plato, his most famous pupil, continued to write dialogues that captured the essence of Socratic thought and preserved his mentor's ideas. Aristotle, Plato's student, further developed these ideas, laying the foundations of Western philosophy. Reflecting on Socrates' life and death, we see a man who dedicated his life to the pursuit of wisdom, willing to challenge conventions and stand by his principles even in the face of death. His story is a powerful reminder of the importance of critical thinking and the courage to question accepted norms. As we conclude our exploration of Socrates' life, we are left with a deep appreciation for his contributions to philosophy and his enduring legacy. His life and teachings continue to inspire and challenge us, inviting each of us to embrace the role of the gadfly in our own lives, to question, to reflect, and to seek a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Now that we have traversed Socrates' life, let us delve into his philosophy and teachings, which form the cornerstone of his enduring legacy. Picture yourself once more seated in the agora among a group of attentive listeners as Socrates begins his dialogue. His approach to philosophy was uniquely interactive and dialectical, a method that became known as the Socratic method. This method was not merely a teaching technique, but a profound way of understanding the world and ourselves. Socrates believed that wisdom begins with wonder. His method involved a series of probing questions designed to stimulate critical thinking and clarify ideas. Imagine him conversing with a young Athenian about the nature of justice. He might begin with a seemingly simple question: what is justice? The respondent offers an answer, only to find Socrates posing follow-up questions that reveal the complexities and contradictions in their initial response. This process, often leading to more questions than answers, encouraged deep reflection and self-examination. Socrates used this method to challenge assumptions and uncover underlying beliefs. He believed that through dialogue, individuals could achieve a clearer and truer understanding of fundamental concepts like virtue, justice, and the good life. His goal was not to provide answers, but to help others recognize their own ignorance and the limits of their knowledge. This realization, he believed, was the first step toward true wisdom. Ethical philosophy lies at the heart of Socrates' teachings, centered on the idea that the pursuit of virtue and the good life is paramount. Unlike the sophists, who claimed moral truths were relative and success was the ultimate goal, Socrates believed in objective moral truths. He argued that virtue is the most valuable possession, far surpassing wealth, fame, or power. For Socrates, living virtuously was synonymous with a fulfilling and happy life. He often emphasized the importance of self-knowledge, encapsulated in the maxim, "Know thyself." Socrates believed that understanding oneself was essential for achieving virtue. This meant acknowledging one's ignorance and striving for self-improvement through constant self-examination and philosophical inquiry. For Socrates, an unexamined life was not worth living, as it lacked the pursuit of virtue and wisdom. Socrates held a deep belief in the immortality of the soul. He viewed the soul as the true essence of a person, more important than the physical body. In his dialogues with students, Socrates often discussed the nature of the soul and its relationship to virtue. He believed that the soul's health depended on living virtuously and that the soul's well-being was the ultimate goal of human existence. In one of his most famous dialogues, Socrates explains to his audience that his role as a philosopher is akin to a midwife, assisting others in birthing their own understanding of truth. He asserts that his mission is divine, entrusted to him by the god to encourage Athenians to care for their souls and strive for virtue. He believed that by fulfilling this mission, he benefited not only individuals, but the entire city of Athens. Socrates is famous for his claim that knowledge is equivalent to virtue. He argued that if a person truly understands what is right, they will naturally act rightly. This idea, known as ethical intellectualism, suggests that moral errors stem from ignorance rather than weakness of will. For example, if someone acts unjustly, it is because they do not fully understand what justice is. Thus, the path to virtue lies in acquiring knowledge and understanding. This perspective led Socrates to focus on education and dialogue as means to achieve moral excellence. By engaging others in philosophical discussions, he sought to help them gain the knowledge necessary for a virtuous life. He believed that every individual was capable of moral growth, and that the philosopher's role was to guide them in this process. Socrates is known for several paradoxical statements that reflect his philosophical outlook. One of the most famous is his declaration, "I know that I know nothing." This statement underscores his belief in the importance of recognizing one's ignorance. He argued that acknowledging our limitations is the first step toward acquiring true knowledge. This paradox highlights the humility and openness at the core of Socratic philosophy. Another significant paradox is his claim that no one does evil willingly. Socrates believed that evil arises from ignorance, not malicious intent. If people truly understood the harm caused by their actions, they would not commit them. This view emphasizes the importance of education and moral enlightenment in preventing unethical behavior. Socratic irony was a key element of his method. Socrates often feigned ignorance or claimed to seek knowledge from others, only to guide the conversation, to reveal their own misunderstandings. Imagine him debating an arrogant sophist, asking questions that appear to seek wisdom, but ultimately expose the sophist's flaws in reasoning. This approach allowed Socrates to challenge and provoke critical thinking without direct confrontation or alienation. Socrates' teachings profoundly influenced his students, particularly Plato, and through Plato, Aristotle. Plato's dialogues are our primary source of knowledge about Socratic philosophy, capturing the essence of his method and ideas. In these dialogues, Socrates often appears as the protagonist, engaging in discussions on a wide range of philosophical topics. Plato built upon Socratic ideas to create his own philosophical system, while Aristotle, Plato's student, further developed these concepts, laying the groundwork for much of Western philosophy. Through the works of these great philosophers, Socratic thought continues to influence countless generations of thinkers and scholars. Socrates' legacy is one of relentless questioning and the pursuit of truth. His method and ideas have shaped the course of Western philosophy and continue to inspire critical thinking and ethical reflection. His commitment to truth, his belief in the value of self-knowledge, and his recognition of the limits of human understanding remain relevant today. As we conclude our exploration of Socratic philosophy, we are reminded of the power of inquiry and the importance of examining our own lives. Socrates' life and teachings challenge us to seek wisdom, embrace humility, and pursue a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world. His enduring legacy serves as a beacon for all who aspire to live meaningfully and virtuously. Imagine yourself in ancient Athens, strolling through vibrant streets filled with merchants, artisans, and philosophers engaged in lively debates. Among these thinkers stands a figure with a remarkable blend of intellectual rigor and innovative ideas, Plato. A student of Socrates and teacher of Aristotle, Plato exerted a profound and lasting influence on Western thought. In this detailed exploration, we delve into the life, philosophy, and enduring impact of Plato, often referred to as the philosopher king. Plato was born around 427th year before our era into an aristocratic family in Athens. His birth name was Aristocles, but he later earned the nickname Plato, meaning broad, possibly due to his wide shoulders. Growing up during the turbulent years of the Peloponnesian War, Plato experienced firsthand the political instability and social unrest that plagued Athens. From a young age, he was immersed in a rich cultural environment, receiving an education that included poetry, music, and gymnastics, standard for Athenian boys of his status. However, his intellectual aspirations truly began to flourish when he met Socrates. Under Socrates' guidance, Plato developed a deep interest in philosophy, particularly in ethics, politics, and the nature of knowledge. The influence of Socrates was profound. Socrates' method of questioning and his commitment to seeking truth deeply shaped Plato's thought. When Socrates was executed in 399th year before our era, Plato was devastated. This event was a turning point in his life, prompting him to leave Athens and travel across the Mediterranean, absorbing diverse cultural and philosophical perspectives that would later inform his own ideas. The unjust trial and death of Socrates left a lasting impact on Plato's mind. It not only inspired him to write about his mentor, but also deepened his skepticism toward democracy, which he held responsible for Socrates' execution. This skepticism would later be reflected in his political philosophy. Upon returning to Athens around 388th year before our era, Plato founded the Academy, one of the earliest institutions of higher learning in the Western world. Located in a grove dedicated to the hero Academos, the Academy attracted scholars from across the Greek world. It served as a hub for philosophical inquiry and education for nearly 1,000 years, influencing countless generations of thinkers. At the Academy, Plato taught a wide range of subjects, including philosophy, mathematics, and astronomy. His teaching method involved dialogues reminiscent of Socratic questioning, encouraging students to think critically and engage in rigorous debate. The Academy became a seedbed of intellectual inquiry, laying the groundwork for many of Plato's most significant works. One of Plato's most significant contributions to philosophy is his theory of forms. According to this theory, the material world we perceive through our senses is merely a shadow of a higher, unchanging reality. This higher reality consists of abstract entities called forms or ideas, which are perfect and eternal. For example, consider the concept of a circle. Any circle we draw in the physical world is imperfect. However, the form of the circle is a perfect abstract entity existing beyond time and space. Similarly, concepts like justice, beauty, and goodness have their own forms, representing their true essence. Plato argued that true knowledge comes not from sensory experience, but from intellectual insight into these forms. This idea is vividly illustrated in his allegory of the cave, found in the Republic. In this allegory, prisoners chained in a dark cave mistake shadows on a wall for reality. Only by breaking free and emerging to the outside world can they perceive the true forms that cast those shadows. In the Republic, Plato presents his vision of an ideal society governed by philosopher kings. He argues that only those with a profound understanding of the forms and a love for wisdom are fit to rule. These philosopher kings, through their knowledge and virtue, can create a just and harmonious society. Plato's ideal state is structured with three distinct classes: rulers, the philosopher kings; warriors or guardians and producers; farmers, artisans, and merchants. Each class has its role and virtues, contributing to the state's overall harmony. Rulers are driven by wisdom, warriors by courage, and producers by temperance. Plato believed that philosopher kings would rule reluctantly, preferring a life of contemplation. However, their sense of duty and commitment to the common good would compel them to govern. This concept reflects Plato's belief in the inseparability of knowledge and virtue, and the idea that true leaders are motivated by a desire to serve, not personal ambition. The allegory of the cave is one of Plato's most powerful metaphors, illustrating his epistemological and metaphysical views. In this allegory, prisoners are chained in a dark cave, facing a blank wall. Behind them burns a fire, and between the fire and the prisoners is a raised walkway where puppeteers pass by. The puppeteers, behind the prisoners, cast shadows on the wall, which the prisoners perceive as reality. One prisoner escapes the cave and, after an arduous journey, emerges into the outside world where he encounters the true source of the shadows, the sun. This journey symbolizes the philosopher's ascent from ignorance to knowledge, from the world of appearances to the world of forms. Returning to the cave to free the others, the enlightened prisoner faces skepticism and hostility. This allegory underscores the challenges of philosophical enlightenment and the resistance often faced by those who challenge conventional beliefs. It also highlights the transformative power of education and the philosopher's duty to share their insights with others, even at personal risk. Plato's philosophical ideas are primarily conveyed through his dialogues, written works featuring Socratic conversations on various topics. Some of the most famous dialogues include The Republic, a comprehensive exploration of justice; The Ideal State; and The Philosopher King; Phaedrus, which examines love, rhetoric, and the soul; Timaeus, which discusses the nature of the physical world and the cosmos; Symposium, a series of speeches on the nature of love; Meno, which explores the nature of virtue and whether it can be taught; and Phaedo, which recounts the final hours of Socrates and his arguments for the immortality of the soul. Each dialogue delves into complex philosophical questions, using characters and narratives to explore diverse perspectives. Through these dialogues, Plato not only preserves Socratic teachings, but also develops his own philosophical system. Plato's influence extends far beyond his time, shaping the course of Western philosophy, science, and political thought. His student Aristotle built upon and sometimes challenged Plato's ideas, creating a comprehensive philosophical system that dominated medieval scholasticism. The Academy continued to thrive long after Plato's death, serving as a model for later institutions of learning. During the Renaissance, Plato's works experienced a revival, inspiring humanist thinkers and contributing to the development of modern philosophy. His ideas about justice, the ideal state, and the nature of reality continued to resonate in contemporary debates about politics, ethics, and metaphysics. Plato's vision of the philosopher king remains a powerful ideal, reflecting the enduring belief in the potential of wisdom and virtue to guide human affairs. His commitment to the pursuit of truth, the value of education, and the importance of self-knowledge continue to inspire those who seek to understand and improve the world around them. Plato offers a timeless vision of a just and enlightened society, guided by reason and virtue. His profound insights into the nature of reality, knowledge, and ethics challenge us to look beyond the material world and strive for deeper understanding. Reflecting on Plato's life and teachings, we recognize the enduring power of philosophy to illuminate our minds and transform our lives. Imagine yourself in the vibrant city of Athens, a center of intellectual activity and cultural sophistication. It is the 4th century before our era, and amidst the bustling streets and lively markets, a young man named Aristotle begins to make his mark on history. Born in the small town of Stagira, Aristotle would grow to become one of the most influential figures in Western thought. His contributions to philosophy, science, and numerous other fields earned him the title of polymath, reflecting his unparalleled breadth of knowledge. Aristotle was born into a family with strong medical roots. His father, Nicomachus, was the personal physician to King Amyntas III of Macedon. This early exposure to biological and medical knowledge likely influenced his later work. However, Aristotle's life took a dramatic turn at the age of 17 when he journeyed to Athens to study at Plato's Academy. Under Plato's guidance, Aristotle spent 20 years immersed in rigorous academic pursuits. Despite philosophical differences, the relationship between teacher and student was profoundly influential. Plato once referred to Aristotle as the mind of the school, acknowledging his intellectual prowess. Following Plato's death, Aristotle's journey took him far from Athens. He traveled to the court of Hermias of Atarneus, a city in Asia Minor where he spent several years engaged in philosophical and scientific inquiries. There he married Pythias, Hermias' niece, further integrating himself into the region's intellectual and political life. Aristotle's travels eventually led him to the court of Philip II of Macedon, where he was entrusted with the significant task of tutoring the young Alexander the Great. This period was pivotal, as Aristotle's teachings influenced Alexander's approach to leadership and governance. The bond between teacher and pupil was strong, and Alexander's respect for Aristotle endured throughout his life. In 335th year before our era, Aristotle returned to Athens and founded his own school, the Lyceum. Unlike Plato's Academy, the Lyceum emphasized empirical research and observation. Aristotle and his students, known as the Peripatetics, conducted extensive studies while walking and discussing ideas in the Lyceum's covered colonnades. Aristotle's teaching approach was systematic and comprehensive. He collected data, classified information, and sought to understand the natural world through observation and logic. This empirical method laid the foundation for modern scientific inquiry, establishing Aristotle as a pioneer in multiple disciplines. Aristotle's philosophical contributions are vast, encompassing metaphysics, ethics, politics, and logic. His works often began with a critical analysis of his predecessors, including Plato, and evolved into comprehensive treatises addressing fundamental questions of being and knowledge. In his Metaphysics, Aristotle explores profound questions about what it means for something to exist. Central to his thought are two key concepts, substance and the unmoved mover. Consider substance first. Imagine a tree. Aristotle would say that a tree is a substance because it exists independently and can undergo various changes, such as growing or losing leaves, while remaining a tree. For Aristotle, substance is the underlying reality that supports all existence. It is the foundation of something that persists even as its appearance or state changes. Every substance comprises two components, matter and form. Matter is the physical material, such as the wood of a tree. Form is the specific organization or structure of that matter, such as the shape and arrangement of a tree. Together, matter and form constitute what a tree is. Now consider the unmoved mover. Aristotle observed that everything in the world is in motion or change. Leaves fall, rivers flow, people grow. He wondered what caused all this motion. Aristotle posited that there must be a first cause, something that moves everything else without itself being moved or changed. This is the unmoved mover. Think of it as the first domino that falls, triggering a chain reaction. Yet this first domino never moves itself. It is always there, initiating motion. Aristotle's unmoved mover is pure actuality, meaning it is fully realized and cannot change because it is already perfect. It is eternal, unchanging, and exists outside time and space. Aristotle also saw it as the ultimate purpose or goal toward which everything in the universe strives, like a magnet, drawing all things toward it. In simple terms, the unmoved mover is a perfect, unchanging entity that causes all motion and change in the universe without being altered itself. Aristotle viewed it as a divine being, perpetually engaged in perfect thought and contemplation. This idea explains why things in the world are constantly in motion and change, yet always in an orderly manner. In his Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle examines what it means to live a good life and truly flourish as a human being. He introduces the concept of eudaimonia, often translated as happiness or flourishing. For Aristotle, eudaimonia is the highest good, the ultimate aim in life that makes it worth living. But how do we achieve this state of flourishing? Aristotle argues that it comes through cultivating virtues. Virtues are like good habits of character that we develop through practice and rational thought. Imagine trying to excel at a sport or musical instrument. You need consistent practice and reflection on your actions. Similarly, virtues are cultivated through consistently making good choices and reflecting on our behavior. Aristotle also introduces the idea of the golden mean, which involves finding the right balance between extremes. For instance, courage is a virtue that lies between the extremes of recklessness and cowardice. If you are reckless, you take unnecessary risks. If you are cowardly, you avoid risks altogether. But if you are courageous, you find the balance, taking risks when justified while knowing when to be cautious. This balance is the golden mean. Thus, for Aristotle, a life worth living involves striving for eudaimonia by cultivating virtues and finding balance in our actions. It means making deliberate choices and aiming for the golden state between excess and deficiency in all that we do. This way, we can truly flourish and live a fulfilled, happy life. In his Politics, Aristotle applies the ideas he developed in his ethical theory to the organization and purpose of the state. He believes that just as individuals seek eudaimonia, or true happiness and flourishing, the state exists to help its citizens achieve this good life. For Aristotle, the state is not merely a place where people live together. It is a community dedicated to enabling individuals to live well. Aristotle examines various forms of government to determine which best supports the good life for its citizens. He considers systems like monarchy, ruled by one, aristocracy, ruled by the best, and democracy, ruled by many. Each has its strengths and weaknesses, and Aristotle is interested in how they can be combined to create the most effective government. He advocates for a mixed government that blends elements of monarchy, aristocracy, and democracy. The idea is to balance these forms so that the government can leverage their strengths while avoiding their weaknesses. For example, monarchy can provide strong, decisive leadership. Aristocracy can ensure that the wisest and most capable govern, and democracy ensures that the interests of the majority are considered. Aristotle's vision of mixed government influenced later political thought, demonstrating how different forms of governance could be integrated to create a more stable and just society. He believed this balanced approach would enable the state to fulfill its purpose, promoting the good life for all its citizens, allowing them to flourish together. Aristotle is often hailed as the father of formal logic, and his contributions to this field have shaped our reasoning for centuries. His collection of works, known as the Organon, became the basis for deductive reasoning and syllogistic logic. These terms may sound complex, but at their core, they concern constructing valid arguments and drawing reliable conclusions from given information. In the Organon, Aristotle introduces the concept of syllogisms. A syllogism is a type of logical argument where you start with two statements, called premises, and derive a third statement, the conclusion from them. For example, if you know that all men are mortal and Socrates is a man, you can deduce that Socrates is mortal. This simple yet powerful form of reasoning enables the construction of complex arguments and the systematic uncovering of truths. Aristotle's logical system became the standard method for scientific and philosophical inquiry for centuries. It provided a framework for scholars seeking to understand the world and communicate their findings. By establishing rules for logical reasoning and valid arguments, Aristotle helped ensure that discussions were grounded in reason and evidence rather than emotion or fallacy. His work's impact on logic is profound. It not only influenced how ancient and medieval scholars pursued science and philosophy, but also laid the foundation for modern logic and analytical thinking. His ideas about constructing and evaluating arguments remain central to disciplines like mathematics, computer science, and law. In essence, Aristotle gave us tools to think more clearly and systematically about the world, making him a pivotal figure in the history of thought. Aristotle's biological works, including History of Animals, Parts of Animals, and Generation of Animals, highlight his empirical approach to studying nature. Unlike some predecessors who relied on speculation, Aristotle believed in learning about living organisms through direct observation and hands-on investigation. He dissected animals, observed their development from birth to maturity, and meticulously recorded his findings. In these works, Aristotle classified animals into various genera and species based on their characteristics. He was among the first to attempt a systematic classification of living organisms. For instance, he noted that some animals have blood while others do not, leading him to distinguish between vertebrates and invertebrates. Though not entirely accurate by modern standards, this classification was a significant advance in the study of biology. Aristotle's method was groundbreaking for its time. He sought to understand the anatomy and functions of different body parts, asking why animals have certain features and how these features help them survive and thrive in their environments. This approach enabled him to make numerous detailed observations about the animal kingdom, some of which laid the groundwork for future biological research. His work in biology showcased a remarkable blend of observation and theory. By dissecting animals and studying their parts, Aristotle gathered empirical data, which he then used to formulate broader principles about life. This method of combining practical investigation with theoretical analysis became a cornerstone of scientific inquiry. While some of his specific conclusions were later disproven, Aristotle's commitment to empirical observation and systematic classification was revolutionary. He helped transform the study of living organisms from myth and conjecture into a more disciplined, evidence-based science. His contributions provide a foundation for the work of future scientists and naturalists, cementing his place in the history of biology. In his physics, Aristotle delves into the fundamental principles governing the natural world, exploring key concepts like motion, causation, and the elements. He sought to understand why things move, change, and exist as they do. One of his most famous ideas was that everything in the physical world is composed of four basic elements: earth, water, air, and fire. Each element, Aristotle believed, has its natural place in the universe and specific tendencies that determine how they interact. For example, he thought earth and water naturally move downward, while air and fire rise upward. This idea explained why stones fall to the ground and smoke ascends into the sky. Aristotle also theorized that everything in nature is in a constant state of change, driven by internal principles that push things toward their natural state or purpose. Regarding motion, Aristotle proposed two types, natural and forced. Natural motion occurs when something moves according to its nature, like an apple falling from a tree. Forced motion, conversely, happens when something is compelled to move against its natural state, such as a stone thrown into the air. This framework for understanding motion was revolutionary for its time and laid the groundwork for future scientific investigations. As for causation, Aristotle developed the concept of four causes: the material cause, what something is made of; the formal cause, its structure or design; the efficient cause, how it comes about; and the final cause, its purpose or ultimate end. These four causes were Aristotle's way of explaining not only how things happen, but why they happen as they do. While later thinkers like Newton challenged some of Aristotle's ideas, particularly on motion and causation, his work in physics laid a foundation for scientific thought. His emphasis on understanding the causes and principles underlying natural phenomena was a critical step in the development of the scientific method. Though his theories were eventually superseded by more accurate models, Aristotle's contributions to the study of nature remain foundational in the history of science. In his On the Heavens, Aristotle presents his views on the cosmos, proposing a vision of the universe with Earth at its center. This model, known as geocentric, holds that all celestial bodies, sun, moon, stars, and planets, move in perfect, unchanging circular orbits around Earth. For Aristotle, Earth was the fixed, immovable core of the universe, and everything in the heavens was in constant, harmonious motion around it. He believed the heavens were made of a fifth element, a divine substance called ether, which was perfect and unchangeable, unlike the four terrestrial elements, earth, water, air, and fire, which were subject to constant change. Aristotle's model was rooted in the belief that the natural world was imperfect, with things perpetually in flux, while the heavens were a realm of perfection and eternal constancy. His idea of perfect circular motion in the heavens reflected his broader philosophy that the universe was ordered and purposeful, with everything having its proper place. In his cosmology, Aristotle also explained the movement of celestial bodies as driven by a form of divine intelligence, guiding the stars and planets in their unchanging orbits. Though Aristotle's geocentric view of the universe was widely accepted for centuries and significantly influenced the development of astronomy, it was later challenged. In the 16th century, Copernicus proposed a heliocentric theory, placing the sun at the center of the universe instead of Earth. This view was ultimately substantiated by the work of scientists like Galileo and Kepler. Nevertheless, Aristotle's efforts to understand and explain celestial phenomena played a critical role in the evolution of astronomical thought. His idea the universe follows a rational, ordered structure shaped centuries of inquiry, even as his specific model was eventually replaced. His work paved the way for later astronomers to explore new ideas, establishing a foundation for the dramatic shift in our understanding of the universe that occurred much later. Aristotle's influence remains evident in the long history of astronomy, where his contributions to explaining the heavens form a vital chapter in the scientific journey from ancient ideas to the discoveries that define modern cosmology. Aristotle's influence on future generations of thinkers is immeasurable. His works were meticulously preserved and studied by scholars in the Islamic world during the Middle Ages. They later returned to Europe, where they played a pivotal role in shaping medieval thought and the rise of scholasticism. Aristotle's emphasis on observation and logical reasoning set the stage for the scientific revolution and the development of modern science. In philosophy, his ideas continued to spark debate and exploration for centuries. His work in ethics, politics, and logic remains foundational to these fields, influencing generations of philosophers and scholars. Reflecting on Aristotle's legacy, we see not just a philosopher, but a true polymath whose insatiable curiosity spanned all realms of human knowledge. His drive to understand the world and his methodical approach to inquiry left an indelible mark. Aristotle shaped how we think, learn, and explore the mysteries of life, and his influence continues to echo through the ages. The Hellenistic period, which followed the death of Alexander the Great in 323rd year before our era, was a time of significant cultural and intellectual expansion. The Greek Empire spanned much of the known world, leading to an exchange of ideas, philosophies, and traditions. This era saw the rise of several influential philosophical schools that responded to the changing social and political landscape, offering new ways to live a good life, find inner peace, and navigate the uncertainties of a rapidly evolving world. At the heart of this philosophical revolution were three major schools of thought: Stoicism, Epicureanism, and skepticism. Each offered distinct answers to the question of how to live a fulfilling life in a world increasingly dominated by powerful monarchs, the chaos of wars, and the rapid spread of diverse cultures. One of the most prominent Hellenistic philosophies was Stoicism, founded by Zeno of Citium in Athens around 300th year before our era. Stoics believed that the key to happiness and inner peace lay in living in harmony with nature and accepting things beyond our control. They taught that we should focus on cultivating virtues like wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, and that external things, wealth, fame, or even our emotions, should not be the ultimate aim of life. According to the Stoics, only our actions and thoughts are truly within our control, and by practicing self-discipline and rationality, we can achieve inner tranquility and calm. The Stoics profoundly influenced later thinkers, including Roman philosophers like Seneca, Epictetus, and the Emperor Marcus Aurelius. They taught that life challenges, illness, loss, or failure, are inevitable. But our response to these events is what matters most. Through reason and acceptance, Stoics believed one could remain steadfast amid life's storms. In contrast to Stoicism, Epicureanism, founded by Epicurus in the 4th century, before our era, focused on pursuing pleasure and avoiding pain as the highest aims of life. However, Epicurus did not advocate for excess or hedonistic indulgence, but for the cultivation of simple pleasures, the enjoyment of friendship, and the pursuit of knowledge. He believed that the key to happiness was the absence of physical and mental pain, and that people should strive to live modestly, engage in self-reflection, and seek intellectual fulfillment. For Epicureans, pleasure meant achieving a state of tranquility and freedom from fear, particularly of death and the gods. Epicurus taught that the gods were indifferent to human affairs and that death was merely the end of consciousness, so there was no reason to fear it. This worldview was revolutionary for its time, offering a comforting alternative to traditional religious beliefs that often portrayed death and the afterlife in frightening and uncertain terms. Epicureanism appealed to those seeking a more practical and attainable form of happiness, grounded in reason and understanding. Another key school of Hellenistic thought was skepticism, which questioned the possibility of certain knowledge. The most prominent figures in this tradition were Pyrrho of Elis and his followers, who argued that humans can never truly know anything with certainty. They believed that our senses are unreliable, and our judgments about the world are often clouded too by prejudice and bias. They suggested that the wisest approach to life was to withhold judgment and refrain from making absolute claims about what is true or false. This, for skeptics, the pursuit of knowledge and truth was less about finding definitive answers, but more about attaining peace of mind through intellectual humility and openness. They believed that by acknowledging the limits of our knowledge, we could avoid the stress and anxiety tied to constantly seeking answers to life's mysteries. Instead, skeptics advocated for a life of mental calm, free from the need to cling to beliefs or opinions. These Hellenistic philosophies were not isolated. They engaged with one another, influenced each other, and often shared common themes. For instance, while Stoicism emphasized self-control and virtue, it shared Epicureanism's aim with Epicureanism of seeking inner peace and a life free from unnecessary suffering. Similarly, both skepticism and Stoicism both valued the importance of reason and self-reflection, though they diverged in their views on the nature of knowledge and certainty. Hellenistic philosophers also grappled with questions of ethics, politics, and the nature of the self. As the ancient Greek world gave way to a more cosmopolitan and imperial world under Alexander's successors, these thinkers sought to provide guidance on how to live in a world where growing older was filled with uncertainty, diversity, and political upheaval. Their teachings responded to the decline of the city-state as the central organizing principle of life, offering new ways for individuals to find stability, purpose, and meaning in a rapidly changing world. Through their teachings, Hellenistic philosophers left a profound legacy. Their ideas about ethics, the nature of knowledge, and the pursuit of happiness influenced not only subsequent philosophical traditions, but also ideas that profoundly shaped early Christian thought. As many early Christian writers and thinkers engaged deeply with the works of Stoics and Epicureans. Reflecting on the teachings of these philosophers, we see that despite the dramatic changes of the Hellenistic period, many of the questions they raised about the nature of happiness, the purpose of life, and the role of reason in human existence remain profoundly relevant today. Their insights offer timeless wisdom for navigating the complexities of our own lives and finding peace in a world that often feels beyond our control. As we conclude our exploration of ancient Greek philosophy, take a moment to reflect on the enduring impact of these thinkers. Their ideas have shaped how we think about everything from science to politics to the very nature of existence. Picture ancient Greece, a vibrant place where philosophy was not just something people studied, but a way of life. The questions raised by Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and the Hellenistic philosophers still resonate, urging us to reflect deeply on our own lives and our quest for wisdom. Thank you for joining me on this journey. As you continue your own path, carry the wisdom of these ancient thinkers with you. May their insights inspire you to keep seeking knowledge and understanding in your own life.